Hey, this week's video is going to be a little bit short just because I'm in the middle of working on this vertical slice milestone, and also my PC has been blue screening several times today, so I'm going to try to record all this footage before that happens again. But I want to show off, the progress of vertical slice since last week. By the time this video goes up, actually it's going to be my deadline for vertical slice, so I'm getting getting down to the wire. I'm trying to finish up all those features, but it's coming along really well, so let's take a look at it. So I'm trying something different this week, which is that I'm recording not only through my Nikon camera and my webcam, but I'm also recording my entire left monitor through OBS. So hopefully this will all work well. Let's see. So this is my vertical slice level, which I showed in last week's video. What you'll notice is different this time is I have a tile set. So this is the Arcadian city where you will start the game. I'm imagining this will probably be like maybe the second level in the game, something like that. Here are these, wall displays that I showed off a little bit last week. You'll see these on these buildings here. And I've been playing around with, trying to get a good color palette here, a mix of colors. So you've got purple sky, red brick, brown, dark yellow buildings, green crates. Just trying to get, a mix of all sorts of different colors where everything's sort of the purpose of tiles are all very clear. So these bright orange ledges, hopefully those stand out as something that you can jump on and stand on, trying to nail down that visual language. There are some doors here. You can go into shops. This shopkeeper is still sort of placeholder right now. I'm not sure if this is going to be completely working in time for vertical slice. My goal is to basically be able to give the shopkeepers a stock of items that they can sell, and some of those might be unlimited, like ammo. Some of them might be things that they can sell out of, like weapons and equipment. But basically have them dynamically generate a dialogue tree based on what stock is available. But right now I've just handwritten all these options. So you can see I can buy ammo. Yeah, that's a little bit placeholder right now. And there's a few things I need to tweak, like making it return to previous menus as opposed to canceling out the dialogue tree completely. And basically just some sorts of things where, I've been trying to repurpose a dialogue system for a shopkeeper system, and it doesn't necessarily want to work that way. I do have some different weapons in here. You'll see I just purchased a weapon that is a combination melee and ranged weapons. You'll see when I use that, if I use these projectiles, they can take out those torches and wall displays and everything. I added treasure chests recently, so this is gonna be fun. Just stand back and hit them all with one shot and collect all the loot. Basically, my motivation for including treasure chests is I want to put mimics later in the game, so keep an eye out for those. So then this is going to be, the first sort of combat area. And again, I showed some of this in last week's video. The architecture of the stage is mostly the same as it was. I've just kind of made a few tweaks where it fits the tile set better. But yeah, it's coming along really well, and I still haven't finished arting up this level. So you can see right here, this is where it's going to switch to a different area, and you'll kind of go underground. So you've got these blue tiles in the back, but that's the end of where I've finished arting up this level so far. So from there, it's basically the same gray boxes that you saw last week. But I guess I will come over here and show one other thing I've been working on. So if I drop a bomb there, I can break open that wall. And if you remember last week I had the biped enemy in here. I've done new art for that guy, so he started this alien thing. My goal for the design of this guy was to make it look like the head is sort of dragging the body along, like maybe it's this sort of amorphous alien entity that's trying to pilot a body, so its limbs kind of flop around, and when it attacks it just kind of flops its whole body at you. But yeah, I've been doing new art for that guy. I made some changes to the way these medusas work. So they'll spawn in at a height that's close to where the player's height is, so they are more of a persistent threat. I've also increased the rate at which they appear in this room. And then I've also made a few changes to where, like, if you're standing close to one side of the screen, the Medusas won't spawn over there. So you'll notice if I stand here, Medusas will only spawn from the left side of the screen. So that's just to, you know, prevent the case where, like, you're just about to walk out of a room and a Medusa spawns and hits you. I wanted to avoid that sort of thing. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much all of the changes that I've made to this level since last week. So I'm gonna close this here and go show some of the other stuff I've been working on. This stuff is probably not going to make it into the vertical slice level, but I've been working on a couple new enemy types. This one here, I'm calling it the rock fly. It's basically like Medusa, but it carries a rock with it that will drop when it passes over you. It also tends to spawn, you know, a little bit higher over the player, so it has some room to drop that projectile down. But yeah, that's coming along pretty well. If I walk over here, this is sort of inspired by the Flea Man from Castlevania. It's this thing that just sort of hops around erratically. So it has one big hop forward and then it can do a few small hops backwards. And yeah, it just sort of stays out of reach and it's hard to hit. But that guy will probably show up a little bit later in the game once you're out in the city, out in the wilderness and that sort of thing. I think that's pretty much most of the new content I've been working on in terms of like tile sets and enemies and stuff. The one other big thing that I've been doing is doing more work on like RNG stuff. Actually, yeah, I may be able to show this here on camera. We'll try it. Let's see. So if I start a new game, oh, I do finally have the option to delete saves in here. So I'll start a new game. And like I mentioned in last week's video, the random number generation is a little bit different for enemy behaviors versus for things like loot drops. So I want enemy behaviors to be consistent. Every time you play the game, a particular enemy will always behave the same way. And that's intentional, that's deliberate, that's so that you can sort of learn their patterns and learn to speedrun the game if you want to. But loot drops need to be randomized. Now the one thing that I've changed from last week's video is that loot drops also re-roll themselves anytime you die. So, for instance, I can hit this thing, it drops a coin, but then, you know, I'll open the console and kill myself. And when I hit it this time, it drops bombs instead. So, previously, those things were rolled once for the entire session. And from session to session, it would be different, but if you played through a leg of the game and then died and played again through that whole section, you would be seeing the same loot drops every time, and that was starting to feel really bad and really obvious. So yeah, I made those re-roll themselves every time. But yeah, it's coming along really well. Obviously, I still need to do environment art for the most of the rest of the level beyond this first little leg, but yeah, I'm aiming for a vertical slice to be done hopefully by the end of the day that this video goes up on YouTube. So I will have a playable build coming at some point, probably after PAX South this weekend. I'll start working on getting that together and make sure my build process for Windows, Mac, and Linux is all up and running correctly. But yeah, I'm happy this hasn't crashed yet, so I'm gonna cut it off here while I'm still ahead. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.